Hey, everybody, welcome to this first session, Workbook Lesson 1 of A Course in Miracles. Let's jump right in to Workbook Lesson 1. And to start Workbook Lesson 1, I'm just going to start briefly by reading just a quick line from the actual chapters, from the actual manual. And so we'll start by reading the introduction to the manual, which in and of itself is one of my favorite pages in all of the Course in Miracles. This is A Course in Miracles. It is a required course. Only the time you take it is voluntary. Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at any given time. The course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. The opposite of love is fear, but what is all-encompassing can have no opposite. This course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. Taking that in for a moment. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. And so we embark on our journey of studying A Course in Miracles and actually doing the work and doing the beautiful work of freeing our minds and untangling ourselves from the illusions of the ego and the illusions of fear and the illusions of pain and the illusions of all the things that have held us back throughout our lives and the illusions that are not even ours. The illusions that we've adopted from our society, the illusions that have implanted themselves into our subconscious mind from the adults that have raised us, the illusions that stand to be removed that we're willing now to let go of. We're willing to let go of the way that we see the world as it is. We're willing to let go of anything that gets into the way of the one and only thing that matters, and that is love, aka truth. AKA now. Because now, if we really let go of everything that I just said, everything that's getting in the way of your mind, experiencing that you are that love, if you let go, the only thing that's left is love. So, with that, the first lesson in the workbook, and all we need to do, we don't need to try to understand the workbook with our mind. We need only to trust that when we let these lessons drop into our hearts and flower, just gently, we don't have to try to work it figuring this out. It's so natural. They will flower on their own, and we get to actually experience the fruits of our practices. So, lesson 1, nothing I see in this room, on this street, from this window, in this place, means anything. Now look slowly around you and practice applying this idea very specifically to whatever you see. This table does not mean anything. This chair does not mean anything. This hand does not mean anything. This foot does not mean anything. This pen does not mean anything. Then look farther away from your immediate area and apply the idea to a wider range. That door does not mean anything. This body does not mean anything. That lamp does not mean anything. That sign does not mean anything. That shadow does not mean anything. Notice that these statements are not arranged in any order and make no allowance for differences in the kinds of things in which they are applied. That is the purpose of the exercise. The statement should merely be applied to anything you see. As you practice the idea for the day, use it totally indiscriminately. Do not attempt to apply it to everything you see, for these exercises should not become ritualistic. Only be sure that nothing you see is specifically excluded. One thing is like another as far as the application of the idea is concerned. Each of the first 3 lessons should not be done more than twice a day, preferably morning and evening. Nor should they be attempted for more than a minute or so unless that entails a sense of hurry. A comfortable sense of leisure is essential. And so nothing I see in this room, on this street, from this window, in this place means anything. When I first read this lesson, I was so frustrated with it. And this was one of the reasons it took me 12 years to actually get to reading the course, because my ego was so strong. I had such a strong ego that just reading this one line shut my ego all the way down. And it said, of course I know what everything in this room means. What does it even mean to say? Nothing in this room means anything. What does that mean? My ego got so indignant. Of course, everything in this room means something. What does this even mean? So I'm going to tell you what it means. Okay, what is this lesson? What's behind this lesson? This one lesson alone could set you free. That's the case with all the lessons in A Course in Miracles, by the way. Each lesson stands on its own two legs. They all one build upon the next, and they really open you all the way up to an amazing experience of true freedom. However, each one of these lessons, if you really give it, you could do this lesson for a lifetime and it would set you free. You can do this lesson in the morning and it will set you free. So here's what it means. Nothing you see means anything, meaning everything is neutral. If you let go of judging everything, if you let go of your perceptions of everything, if you let go of the past that you've carried into the present moment, it opens up a whole new level of freedom for you. So if we're looking at a tree and we can just see the tree without labeling it with the word tree, or we can see a cloudy day and see there's just clouds in the sky. It doesn't mean anything that there's clouds in the sky. It doesn't mean that the weather's bad. It doesn't mean that the weather's good. There is good and bad weather, of course. We have weather that we prefer. But there's nothing means anything. It doesn't mean anything. If we see somebody in a Trump hat, not to add politics into this, but we as human beings with egos, we automatically slap a bunch of meaning when we see things. That's the nature of the ego. So if we can it's so nutritious to do this. If we could just step back from trying to assign meaning to every single little thing that's happening around us, we are free. What are we free to do? We're now free to just simply experience what's in front of us without the pain and suffering that the ego inflicts upon us. Because here's the thing, my friends, the ego, it's not necessarily leaning towards neutral. How many of you know what I'm talking about? How many of you can understand that your ego, its favorite hobby, one of its favorite pastimes is suffering and or judging and or separation and or complaining. And so the meaning that most of the things the ego gives to the things around it, it's not usually going to be leaning towards the pleasant. But even if it is leaning towards the pleasant, guess what? Those things that the ego is so attached to, it says, oh my God, this is so amazing. I never want it to end. This relationship means I'm finally loved. And now I'm going to hold on to this for dear life. If we could just let go of ascribing meaning to everything around us, we are now in beginner's mind. In beginner's mind, for those of you who aren't hip to the Eastern traditions, beginner's mind is just beginner's mind. Beginner's mind is just whatever will be, will be. We're in full acceptance now. So this is wiping the slate clean. This is where we must start if we want to be free from suffering. We must start with this beginner's mind of maybe, just maybe, the things that you think have such great excuses for you to suffer, to be in sadness, to be in fear, to be in worry, to be in anxiety, to be in frustration, and all the other accoutrements that the ego will give you. The little appetizers and full meals of here's some suffering with your anxiety, here's some sadness with your pain. Maybe none of it means what you think it means. Maybe the lack of funds doesn't necessarily mean that life is going to hell in a handbasket. Maybe it means something totally different. Maybe there's something really great on the other side of this learning experience. so on and so forth. So let's wipe the slate clean today, my friends, by starting with just the very simple, lowest hanging fruit of your surroundings don't mean anything. The situations don't mean anything. The little labels that you want to place on people, let's not place them today. Let's be free. Let's open our arms to life, and let's just entertain just for today, just to see how it feels. What would it feel like if nothing I see means anything? Enjoy today, enjoy the lesson, enjoy this practice, and I'll see you in the next lesson.